Hello there, I'm Paul Ray from the official Teen Wolf Wiki, and today I'm talking about the Teen Wolf timeline. Specifically, I'm a little sore from all the pushback I got on my recent video explaining that Derek's 15-year-old son was born at least a couple of years after the Hale House fire, meaning that it happened in that period of Derek's life that we know nothing about. If you like it when I talk about Teen Wolf, you should totally subscribe to the channel. I'm here at least once a week. So, a lot of people didn't like my canonical facts surrounding the potential birth date of Eli Hale. This mostly took the form of, but Derek's ID said he was born in '88. Well, that is a canonically fake ID, so there's no reason to trust it. But also, I had a lot of people who apparently decided that Teen Wolf just doesn't have a cohesive timeline.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
That is not true. There is a timeline there. The show sometimes completely ignores it, but that doesn't change the underlying facts that a timeline does exist.
Okay, so Paul hates asking for money, but the facts are these. YouTube revenue is down significantly since they did away with the dislike button.
No, the drop started when his jaw was broken and he couldn't use his real voice.
What?
I'm saying that, in addition to YouTube messing with audience interaction, Paul had that dental surgery mishap and couldn't work as much as before. That too affects revenue.
Whatever. You're just complicating it. YouTube revenue is down at the worst possible time.
Agreed. Paul is getting ready to spend a few days in Atlanta on the Teen Wolf set, which is going to cost quite a bit in travel, lodging, food, and other expenses.
To pay for all that, Paul needs folks to financially support the channel.
Tell them about the t-shirts.
They know about the t-shirts. The t-shirts are cool, but they're way too expensive, and Paul only sees a fraction of that money. That's why he set up a Ko-fi page.
I think that's pronounced coffee.
What?
It's coffee. Their thing is you can spend as much as a cup of coffee to support a creator.
They spell it weird.
It's the internet. Everything is spelled weird. But the link is in the description and above so people don't actually need to know how to spell it.
Anyway, there will be exclusive content for folks who do a monthly membership of $2, so check it out to support Paul and his work with Teen Wolf News.
This is actually my second version of this video. The first one laid out the whole canonical timeline to a mathematical certainty, with dates and multiple on-screen time checks as receipts. But in the end, it was 12 minutes of math, and it was really kind of boring. It's the kind of thing that only canon whores like me would care about, but it really did little to clear things up for a casual viewer. And doing it the long way causes me and other folks to focus on all the stuff that the production got wrong when they tried to mention specific years. For the purpose of establishing canon, the official Teen Wolf Wiki ignores anything that doesn't match within the established on-screen timeline.
Canon is, as far as the site is concerned, the events that transpire on screen during each episode. It also takes into account past events as described by characters on the show as well as some of the information relayed via props on the show. The latter, the show's props, prove, more often than not, to conflict with prior established canon. When a conflict occurs, we make note of it but give precedence to the information provided via dialogue, as this is more likely to convey the writer's intent than would a prop they did not create themselves.
The worst time crime of all was probably Malia's disastrous birth certificate prop, which placed her age between 12 and 15. This is, again, not possible.
8 years ago, when I was elected sheriff of the county, my first official duty was to tell a man that, as best we could tell, the body of his 9-year-old daughter had been dragged from the wreck by coyotes.
We were told that she was 9 years old when she disappeared 8 years ago. The official Teen Wolf Wiki rule is that pretty much if there's a date on a prop, that date is going to be wrong. So, trying to do specific years for a timeline is a fool's errand. In the end, I decided you don't need a calendar to understand when things happen in the Teen Wolf universe. Let's start with the run of the show. It takes place over 3 years in universe. It starts with the winter semester in year 1 and ends with the fall semester in year 3. We know it's winter semester when it starts because the Wolf Moon happens in January, and that very first episode is called Wolf Moon. We also know that only 3 days pass between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2.
They'll be here in 2 days.
And then Lydia's birthday is in March with the Worm Moon, as helpfully explained by dead Peter Hale.
Do you know what they call the full moon in March? It's called the Worm Moon.
So, we have a solid block of non-stop timeline comprising about 3 months, and that gives us a solid base for the beginning of year 1.
Have a great summer, everyone.
No.
To the seniors, I'll see you at graduation.
No. That's it? What?
At the end, Scott, Lydia, Stiles, and Malia graduate at the end of 6A, giving us an indisputable time check. It is the spring of year 3. Then in 6B, the story picks up at the beginning of a new school year in the fall.
Point is, summer's almost over. We're about to be seniors. This is about to be the best year of our
Teen
entire
Wolf,
life.
the TV show, is 3 years of time that's been broken up into 6 seasons. All the history of the show branches off in both directions from those 3 years. We know Derek and Paige were in high school more than 10 years before year 1 because the sheriff said it.
The records will be over 10 years old. I just need to look over a couple files.
We know the Hale House fire took place 6 years before year 1 because everyone, save a single on-screen reference, placed the fire 6 years before year 1.
He was. Now he's barely even human. 6 years ago, my sister and I were at school. Our house caught fire.
Again, at the official Teen Wolf Wiki, we always trust dialogue over props, but we also have to judge dialogue based on who said it and under what circumstances. The perfect example is that Stiles thing where he says the fire happened like 10 years ago.
Dude, that was Derek Hale. You remember, right? He's only like a few years older than us.
Remember what?
His family, they all burned to death in a fire like 10 years ago.
We later learned it was actually 6. Both of these cannot be right. Picking which one is canonical in this case is really simple. Stiles was talking casually about an event that happened to someone else when he himself was just a little kid. Derek was talking about something that he experienced personally, so we believe him over Stiles. Every contradiction like this has to be judged with context. Again, most of the bad props cannot be saved. But Teen Wolf does have a pretty simple and straightforward timeline if you don't get bogged down in the minutia. Derek was in high school more than 10 years before year 1. We know this because the sheriff said in year 1 that the Alpha Pack formation happened more than 10 years ago. We believe the sheriff here because he was being specific, asking for official medical records related to something that he himself had experienced. So, more than 10 years before year 1, Derek was at least 14. The fire happened at least 4 years after the formation of the Alpha Pack, meaning Derek would have to be in his late teens. Then you add the 6 years after the fire, and Derek is at least in his mid-20s when year 1 begins. Then we come to Eli Hale. He was born 15 years ago. If the movie is happening now, then Teen Wolf Year 1 was at least 11 years ago in universe at the time the movie begins. That places Eli's birth at least 4 years before Year 1 and at least 2 years after the fire, during that period of Derek's life that we know nothing at all about.